If your kitchen feels cluttered, cramped, or just uninspiring, you're not alone. I used to feel the same way about our kitchen space until I started making these small changes that completely transformed it. The kitchen is the heart of our home, and it's also the room that I spend the most time in. So instead of just treating it as a place to cook, I've found ways to make it somewhere that I genuinely enjoy spending time. Our condo kitchen isn't large by any means, so I focus on subtle touches that add beauty without sacrificing function. My goal is to keep it efficient, clutter-free, and inviting. In today's video, I'm sharing all of the ways we have simplified and beautified our kitchen so it stays clean, calm, and a joy to be in. Let's get started. The first thing that we have done to simplify and also beautify our kitchen is utilizing multi-purpose tools. So essentially just choosing items that serve more than one purpose. I'm talking a good chef's knife, a sturdy cutting board, maybe even a cast iron pan. Essentially, using multi-purpose tools just cuts out a whole bunch of clutter that can quickly accumulate with single-use gadgets and tools. Of course, there are scenarios where those gadgets are very helpful and they make sense to have. However, in our kitchen, right from the very beginning, I was choosing tools that would serve more than one function so that our drawers wouldn't become overflowing with a whole bunch of different items. Less clutter means easier cleanup, and it also means easier maintenance of the kitchen in general. The second way that we keep our kitchen simple is by storing away rarely used and bulky appliances. There are only two appliances that we keep on our countertops. Number one is the espresso machine. This is a very heavy item. It's something that we use daily, sometimes even more than once a day. So it just doesn't make sense to keep in a cupboard and have to bring out every time. And then the other item is my KitchenAid stand mixer. This is also a very heavy item that I purposely chose in a color that would look good on the counter because I know I wouldn't use it as much because it's so heavy if I was storing it inside of a cupboard. But everything else that we have, like the food processor, blender, air fryer, rice cooker, those are all stored away in the cabinets because they really don't need to be out on the countertop. Of course, this isn't going to be possible in every single kitchen setup. So in that case, if I didn't have as much cabinet space, I think what I would do is keep my appliances in one area of the counter, if that makes sense, kind of like a little station where I would be using those appliances versus having them scattered throughout the kitchen on various countertops. I think that would help to reduce a lot of visual clutter and also just make the rest of the kitchen more functional. One major way that I have added beauty to our kitchen without sacrificing function and practicality is by picking items that are both aesthetic and functional. Aesthetic is going to be different for every single person. For me, I personally really love Japanese made items like bowls and cups, things like that, because I feel like they add this really beautiful earthy feel into the space, and we do have quite a contemporary build of an apartment. So that's something that I really try to keep in mind whenever I am buying or thrifting something new. And this just allows me to use the functional items that we have in our kitchen as decor or display and not be worried that they're just going to become clutter on the countertop. One great example of this is these really beautiful Japanese cups that we have on the counter in beautiful earth tones, and I don't mind keeping them out in a stack because number one, they're nice to look at. Number two, they're easily accessible. And number three, they're right by the fridge where we can easily and quickly grab a sip of water whenever we need to. And that's quite often in our home. So this is one way to really keep things simple and also incorporate some beauty into the space. Now in our kitchen, I try to keep the things that we are using most often kind of out where we can reach them really easily and quickly. So our butter dish, the dish that we have our garlic in, a spoon holder, cookbooks that I use really often. And one thing that I do to make these smaller items feel curated versus scattered is grouping them together on a platform. So for example, here I've got the cookbooks that I use most frequently, and typically cookbooks are nice to look at already, so that really helps with beautifying the space. But the main thing here is that they are holding together the butter dish and the spoon or knife holder, and therefore making it look less cluttered and more intentional. I've also done this in the past with a salt and pepper shaker. The dining table behind me has this exact same thing going on. We have a candle, salt and pepper, and then a little vase with some flowers, and it's all anchored together on one platform, which is that stone plate. So this can be used in any area of the house, but I do find that it really helps to make the space feel more curated without sacrificing that functionality. Now, we could have the most beautiful, organized kitchen, but if we did not have the habits in place to keep things simple and running smoothly, it would not stay that way. So the next thing that we do to keep things simple in the kitchen and to really reduce the clutter that's in the kitchen is by having a dish routine. And what I mean by this is essentially knowing that after every meal or snack, we're gonna do a 5 to 10 minute tidy up of the space to renew it for the next time that we need to use it. We also run the dishwasher once a day and always make sure to empty it within a reasonable amount of time so that everything just keeps working and functioning smoothly. And it really does help to simplify everything in the kitchen. Everybody's routine might be a little bit different for this, but I do definitely recommend post-meal and snack cleanups in the kitchen, even if it's just a quick wipe down of the counters and washing or putting the dishes in the dishwasher. A simple kitchen does not need to follow one particular aesthetic or style, but I do genuinely believe that in a small kitchen especially, lighter colors and tones can help a space to feel more open, airy, brighter, and less cluttered. It just really helps to reflect light in the space, and so this is something that I keep in mind anytime I am bringing something new into the space, like an appliance. My KitchenAid mixer, I chose an off-white color versus something like a dark gray or a black that would match my kitchen but might actually feel more cluttered on the countertop than the bright white that I chose. Even tiny accents like the color of pot that you're using for a plant in the kitchen or the cookbook that you choose to keep out on display can all have an effect on how cluttered the kitchen feels and looks. The seventh way that I have simplified and beautified our kitchen is by giving everything a home. I am going to be saying this on my deathbed. It is so important that every single item belongs somewhere, and it's self-explanatory. There's nothing really more to say about it except that it can really reduce clutter and having the habit of leaving things out because they don't have a particular spot to return to. And I really do think that it helps in keeping the kitchen functioning smoothly. Another way that we have simplified our kitchen and the way that we keep our kitchen simple is by eliminating duplicates and being very intentional about the multiple items that we might bring in that are very similar. So of course there are scenarios where having a small spatula and a large spatula might be really useful. That's something that we have a duplicate of, but we're not going out and getting like multiple spatulas of the same size because it adds clutter, it makes cleaning up harder, and it's just a lot more stuff to maintain. I have a video where I organize various kitchen drawers full of gadgets like this. I will link that above if you're interested in seeing it, but you can just see how having duplicates of the same item can be more of a hindrance in the kitchen than a help. And the last way that we keep our kitchen simple, beautiful, and functional is leaving room to breathe. So I'm talking on the countertops, but also inside drawers and cabinets and cupboards. This is something that I've learned more recently as I have become more advanced in decluttering our home, and that's just that having space in a cupboard or a drawer is awesome. It adds such a sense of calm, and not everything needs to be full to the brim just because the space is available. It makes finding things so much easier, and it allows you to space the items that you do have a little farther apart so that those items have room to breathe as well. And I also think it keeps things much cleaner long term too. A kitchen doesn't have to be large to be beautiful or functional. With a few intentional choices, it can become a space that you genuinely love spending time in. One that works hard for you, but still feels calm and inspiring. I would love to hear how you keep your kitchen clutter-free and beautiful in your own home, so feel free to leave a comment down below for me. I'm gonna link another video on my kitchen declutter that I did a couple of years ago right here if you'd like to check that out. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.